Morning, everyone. This is Gabby Orozco, mom to Josh, council member.
All right, Mary.
Hi, I'm Mary Slaughter. I'm a council member representing an 88-year-old woman who has been institutionalized.
Thank you. Mateo.
Mateo Trita, I am a self-advocate.
Thank you, Mateo. Sophie.
Here, I'm in the show this weekend, and I don't know, John knows about that. Good morning.
Thank you, Sophie. Did I miss any other council members?
Hello. Sorry. Let's pick. Want to introduce yourself? Sure. I am Bijette Sari, coming in from Lake Havasu City, a member of the council.
Thank you, Dad. And Raina, I apologize.
Oh, no worries at all. Rena Sims with DES, Division of Aging and Adult Services, Deputy Assistant Director. Hi, everyone.
Good morning. Okay, anyone else at the table? Melissa.
No, you got all council members.
Okay, staff, I'll start with John.
Good morning, everyone. John Myers, Executive Director of the Council.
Sarah.
Good morning. Sarah Ruth, Communications Director for the council.
Jason.
Jason just stepped out for a moment.
Okay, no worries. Lonnie.
Lonnie St. Cyr, Fiscal Manager. Good morning.
And Michael.
Michael is moving cars.
Okay.
He's present.
Okay, everyone's present, and I'm Marcy Crane, and then I know we've got a couple of guests here. Cy.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Cy Ann, staff attorney with Disability Rights Arizona.
Thank you. Ryan.
Hello, Ryan Bray with the ARC of Tempe and Project Director of Arizona Achieve.
Great, thank you. Melanie.
Hi, Melanie Mills, State Director for the ARC of Arizona, sister, aunt, and niece.
Thank you, Melanie. Ruth Ann.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ruth Ann Strom. I'm the Executive Director at the ARC of Tempe, and I'm the child of two people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Thank you, Leanne. Ruth Ann. Leanne. But no, Leanne is still on the call.
Oh, yes, sorry about that. My name is Leanne Fuller, and I am visiting today.
Okay, thank you, Leanne. And then we also have another council member that just joined us, Eric.
Hello, this is Eric. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just making sure that because it says my microphone is off, even though I turned it on. This is Eric Jensen, a community advocate.
Thank you, Eric. Any other guests?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Back to you, Melissa.
Okay, thank you so much. And for everybody today, Leanne Fuller is joining us as a guest today, but Leanne, thank you, Mike, for validating her. Leanne is a council member in waiting. That's what we can say. We're waiting for her application to be approved by boards and commissions. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much. Let's move on to agenda item B, our minutes review and approval for September 20th, 2024 for full council. I hope everybody has had a chance to review the minutes. Is there any comments or corrections that need to be made to the minutes?
This is Kathy. There were there was one on page 10 next to the last paragraph, line 4. It was participants. There was a typo, but the one I really wanted to talk about was on page 5. I have to get to it. Hold on. Sorry. Sorry, just let me get there.
No problem. I was lax in my review, apparently.
Well, it was the way we worded something in, I'm sorry. Oh, it was on page 5, and it was the next to the last sentence, it says there are 4 required objectives, comma, developed to be a systems change project. And the applicant can be renewed upon successful completion. It just seemed like there are 4 required objectives. I understood that. But the next part, developed to be a systems change project, seemed like there's a word missing there.
Yeah, I think what we intended to say was that this RFGA or this project was intended to be a system change project. We can add that language in there.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would just read a little bit better. And that's
Okay. Was there anything else from Kathy or anybody else? Okay, thank you. Hearing nothing else, I'm going to call for a motion to approve the full council minutes from September 20th, 2024 with the corrections that were noted. So do I have a motion? So moved. Thank you, Monica. Do I have a second?
Aye.
Mary, a second. Thank you, Mary. All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Is anyone not voting? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Agenda item C, our fiscal contract update with Lonnie.
Thanks, Melissa.
Full screen.
Thank you. So ACL granted a no-cost extension for fiscal year 2022 funds, extending the project period through September 30th of this year. The council has fully liquidated these funds and completed the work by the extended September 2024 deadline. As you can see, everything's fully obligated, fully liquidated, and we've pretty much closed out those funds. The council received a total allotment of $1,501,328 for fiscal year 2023. The council has fully obligated these funds. A no-cost extension for the period of performance has been granted and now runs through September 30th of 2025. So we have until next September to complete the work. There's approximately $117,470 remaining to be liquidated or spent of the 2023 funds. The council has received a 5th allotment for fiscal year 2024 in the amount of $3,482, bringing the current award amount to $1,500,684. The obligation and project periods are through September 30th of 2025. There's approximately $4,350 remaining to be obligated of these funds. And finally, the council has received the 1st allotment for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $332,208. Currently, we are estimating level funding, but that may change. We don't know what's going to go on with the new administration. The obligation and project periods are through September 30th of 2026. And the final report will be due January 28th of 2028. Any questions on the sheet? Okay, moving on to the next one, very slowly. Oh, this mouse is slow.
What's that highlighted in yellow down at the bottom there?
These were kind of like the new items bring up. So I kind of mentioned the new award that we got for fiscal year 2024. So they gave it to us at the very end of September after our last full council meeting. So that's why I'm bringing it up today.
Okay, I couldn't see what it said. That's why.
That's okay. And so, and this is the additional award that we got for 2025. It's the first award amount. So
Okay.
we don't have the full amount yet, the full 1,500,000, but yeah.
Okay.
We've got 332 to get us through the continuing resolution.
Okay.
Uh-oh. What are you doing? I don't know how to get rid of that box. I apologize, guys. So. And before we hit this, I just want to, there's no sheet for it, but I did want to touch on the public health workforce funding. The council received an additional award in the amount of $95,319 to expand the public health workforce within the disability network. These funds were tracked and reported on separately. The project report was due October 31st and was submitted. The financial report is due by January 31st of next year. So this upcoming January, the obligation and project periods were through September. The council has received and paid all of the invoices for the full amount of $95,319 for this project. So everything's good to go there. John, I don't know if you want to add anything about that? Okay. This sheet just shows all the current council funded projects and those that are ending. We're following up with any outstanding invoices, and all of the contracts that were voted on at last September's meeting is now reflected on this sheet. Any questions here? Okay. Bear with me, one more sheet, guys. Okay, and again, sorry for the size.
No. Right yet.
That is, yeah, that didn't help. So anyways, this sheet has been updated to reflect the projects outlined in the fiscal year 2022, 2025, and 2026 work plans, as well as the funding that has already been approved for the prior years. The funding year is generally the year prior to the project year. So while you see 23, 24, and 25, and this black box isn't up here. So just know that the funding leads the projects. For fiscal year 2025 funds, we'll be using that primarily for projects to be decided in 2026. Currently, there's an anticipated surplus of $227,000 for fiscal year 25 funds, which may be needed if we don't get level funding. So down here, we're showing that excess balance. What's highlighted here is a project to be discussed later on in the agenda. So you'll see an increase in that administration budget. Any questions on this sheet? Yes, David.
So that last piece, just to, obviously, we're continuing resolution in December. We don't know what Congress does then, and then we don't know ultimately what Congress does with this program, our programs, et cetera. So the 227,000 is held back for in case there is more significant cuts. And then where would that money be applied to, for staff or?
It would need to be determined by the council where those funds would go to if we do receive level funding. If we receive step down funding, we do have a balance that's unobligated at this point to be used for any reduced funding. If we're cut entirely, we have the 300 and some that has already been awarded that will need to be spent. But yeah, like you said, continuing resolution until December 20th. Anything beyond that is still kind of up in the air. We do have some things identified, but not everything in entirety. And so yeah, that's kind of, I wish I could provide more detail at this point.
No, and I mean, I think we're all in, I think John's message to us as an executive committee was, uncertain times, uncertainty. So I'm not asking for, prediction, because if you have one, obviously please share it. But the other question is, obviously we might be looking at proposals later on. Is any of the proposals dipping into that 200 some thousand?
So up here, anything kind of in this line is dipping into what we're anticipating. So a lot of these are carryover projects, things that we funded in the first year. So like the new internet safety training, sexual violence project. So anything that you see in this line here has been projected to be funded or continuation of funding for 25 funds. Those are things that if we don't receive all of our funding, maybe on the chopping block. Or if we do get level funding, there may be additional funds to then allocate to a new project or something else to be determined. But again, not knowing.
No, and this is JJ again. I just appreciate the clarification for the councils. The reason I ask that is just because these uncertain times may require us to just make sure there is that amount of money at least. If you all recommended that we needed to have more, you know, I think it's our fiduciary duty to make sure that there's money to operate in light of whatever happens in the future. So I just want to ask those questions so the whole council can hear, you know, kind of what is available in case the worst case scenario or a significant cut happens. So thank you for the explanation.
And hopefully that was clear.
Oh, it was.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, well, we hope it won't be a problem, but if it is, obviously, we have to pay staff to keep functioning, so that's probably a priority, but I'm sure you guys have discussed that, but just kind of where I stand. If we don't have you, we don't have a council.
So can I ask one question?
Of course.
Just a point of clarification, make sure I understand it right. So a worst case scenario is we have 227,000 just for, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And then next case is we've got some funds that are obligated, we might have to unobligate some of those just to stay afloat. And then the best case scenario is we get what we anticipate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just so that you know, with everything, with the projects following the funding, we're really operating under this column right now. So what we're working on currently is this middle column. This one is stuff that hasn't been renewed yet, haven't been paid for yet, but with the understanding if funding is not there, we will not be able to fund those projects moving forward. So yeah, right now we're okay for a while, but moving forward, it may become a problem.
Okay, so we'll have a good Christmas and we'll see you after that.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay. No further questions for Lonnie?
Oh.
Hardness while we play with our new system. Okay.
It's all an experiment.
It is. It's Friday, thank heavens. Okay, Lonnie, thank you so much. Okay, we are going to move on to agenda item D, our executive director report with John Myers.
Okay, well, good morning again, everyone. And it is an absolute pleasure to start the day off with such good news about our budget and, you know, rainbows and unicorns.
Hope for the future.
And yes, nothing but hope for the future. I wanted to just touch on a couple of things and not belabor too much because a lot of this we have talked about in the past, but just as an update on our annual work plans, our FY25 and FY26 plans have been submitted to ACL. I think we mentioned at the last meeting that we had gotten preliminary approval of those things. We now have formal approval, written approval for our fiscal year 25 work plan with no changes requested. And we've gotten provisional approval of our FY26 work plan. It bears noting, I think, that the FY26 work plan is in most respects identical to the FY25 work plan because we project, as Lonnie mentioned, we project a lot of things are going to carry over from year to year. And we have the opportunity during the coming year to make adjustments as things change. And things always do change. We either don't renew a project or we renew a project or we add some additional project or whatever the case may be. But we have the opportunity before August of next year to make some updates and submit a revised 26 work plan. So we're good to go. We are in process. We're now almost 2 months into the new fiscal year and things are proceeding as they should. With regard to the no cost extension request, we also reported that we had submitted that. We have formal approval of that. So the funding that we requested an extension for is in place to primarily support our data hub, which is a component of our website. It's a project we've been funding for a number of years now. The great thing about the data hub is that as of early in 2024, we have a data share agreement with DES. So we're getting some additional DDD data that we didn't have for the first couple of years of that project that can now go onto our website and speak specifically to individuals with developmental disabilities in the state of Arizona on a county by county basis. I could talk to you for hours, and Marcy could talk to you for hours about all the different things that are components of that project. But the long and short of it is that in addition to the federal data that we've been putting on the website for a couple of years now, we now have some very specific county level Arizona IDD data based upon the service provided by the Division of Developmental Disabilities. So to our way of thinking, that's a significant improvement. It provides a lot more value to this project. So we are pleased that we can continue the funding and allow the researcher who handles that project to put into place the various components that he needed additional time to work on. Very pleased about that. The FY25 federal award, again, as Lonnie mentioned, is uncertain. We've gotten the first allocation, the $332,000, but because the federal government is operating under a continuing resolution, which has been the case, it seems like forever, we don't have any certainty about what the future is going to look like. And with the new administration coming into place, we don't know what is going to be proposed. We'd like to believe that things will continue at least through fiscal year 25 as they have the last couple of years, that we will get the anticipated allocation of roughly $1.5 million, but it is there is no guarantee of that. So we are being told by NACDD, our national organization, that for the time being we should just plan for that level of funding. We know that when changes take place at the federal level, they do often take quite a lot of time, and Congress may not be disposed to make wholesale changes immediately. On the other hand, they may be. We just don't know. So we're going to proceed using the budget figures that Lonnie just shared, and in anticipation of level funding. But certainly don't be surprised if we come back to you in January or even next spring and tell you that something has changed. And if it changes, it is not likely to be an increase in our funding. It is much more likely to go in the opposite direction. Finally, I wanted to just touch on the more general impacts of the election that took place earlier this month. Thank you, JJ, for setting the stage with using the U word. We're going to be using the word uncertainty or uncertain quite a lot, I think, over the coming months, because there is just so much that's up in the air about where councils stand, where our DD network partners stand, where a lot of things stand with respect to services to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Many of you work in government positions, or you work in government adjacent positions. You probably also share some of these feelings. I will say, and ADDPC is not a political entity. There is representation from all points on the political spectrum on this council. But we have to face the reality that the administration that's coming in is proposing some significant changes that could be detrimental to the people we serve. Proposals such as eliminating or greatly changing the Department of Education would have massive impacts on IDEA, on IEPs, on the various services that are provided to public school students with disabilities. I have to say, personally, I don't find it encouraging to hear who the new nominee to head CMS is. There are a lot of people, and this is probably more my opinion than opinion of the council, but there are a lot of people nominated for positions who do not have demonstrated expertise in the fields they're being nominated to lead, and that is gravely concerning. On the other hand, as I said earlier, things do take time when the federal government changes, so I'd like to believe we're not going to see massive changes to the way we operate, the way other programs operate right away, but we have to be prepared. And our national organization, again, NACDD, organizations like the ARC of the US, various other national disability advocacy organizations are very, very busy right now trying to make sure that they understand what could happen and that they are prepared to address changes as they become apparent. So, again, not to put a cloud over the day, but we just don't know exactly what's going to happen. At the state level, we know that the Republican Party remains in control of the legislature, the Democratic Party remains in control of the governor's office, so there is likely to be some division in policy priorities, I guess, as we move into the new legislative session. There are also a number of new members of the legislature who are going to require some education about disability issues. They either haven't served in the legislature before or they are coming back after some time away. So we have some work to do to educate our state level officials about disability issues, and we will certainly do that, and we will work with all of our partners, the Disability Rights Arizona, the USEDS, Raising Special Kids, whomever is appropriate. We will continue to work to advocate for disability issues through the coming session. We know that the state remains in a difficult fiscal position, so we don't anticipate that supports and services are going to see any increase in funding, but there may be other issues as well that we need to deal with, and we'll stay on top of those, and we'll begin the process of getting together with our legislative leadership and addressing those issues as quickly as possible. Once again, these are somewhat uncertain times, and we will continue to keep you apprised of things as time goes on. But know that as a staff, and I think I can speak on behalf of council membership as a whole, we will continue to do the work we do to the very best of our ability. Each and every one of us has a commitment to make sure that the stakeholders we serve receive the best possible opportunity, the greatest level of equity, the greatest level of community inclusion, that we uphold the principles that underlie DD Council state nationwide, and we will continue to do that work with full commitment. So if there's ever anything that we can share with you, ever anything you need more information about, please don't hesitate to be in contact with us. We'll keep you informed as best we can. Happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. Sophie?
My award, you meant to say? My award?
We'll talk about that later, Sophie.
Thank you. Any other questions for John? Okay, we're all stunned into silence, John. Thank you for that.
It's wide in here.
All right. You have anything further on everything we talked about? Or are you done?
I'm done.
John's done. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Well, you know what? We'll do what we gotta do. One day at a time. All right, let's move on to agenda item E, our state plan development for the 2027-2031 holy cow year. The ISA for comprehensive review and analysis with IHD. All right, that's you, John, and Lonnie and Marcy.
Okay. Well, on the note that we are going to proceed as though everything will be as it always has been, we have to begin the process of putting together our next 5-year state plan, which will run federal fiscal year 2027 through 2031. And we are proposing to contract with the Institute for Human Development at NAU to undertake the first stage of that plan development, which is preparation of comprehensive review and analysis, and then moving into the development of a draft state plan, which will be taken out for community input, all culminating in a final state plan, which will be submitted to ACL in August of 2026. So it's a long process. We are proposing to begin the process in either December of this year or January of next year, and it takes quite a long time. Probably will not come back to the council for final approval of that state plan until June of 2026. But for now, you can see from the contract proposal that we shared with you, we are asking for your approval to move forward with contracting with the Institute for Human Development on this project. And I'm going to actually stop there and ask Marcy, would you like to say any more about this?
You might want to put the proposal up.
Okay. The proposal was sent out to everybody as part of the meeting packet, but just in case anybody wants to take another look at it.
Yeah, believe the amount.
Yeah.
98.
Right. So,
No, I looked at it so many times now.
okay. just to give an overview of the work that will be done. The comprehensive review and analysis is a required part of developing a 5-year state plan. It is required by ACL. So it is essentially a look at the landscape around the state in a number of different areas related to services for people with disabilities, housing, transportation, healthcare, the various services that are provided by the DD agency, waiting lists, various things like that. IHD is proposing to do several surveys as part of this project to secure community input, which is required even in the initial stage. They will then prepare the CRA, which is typically a pretty hefty document. Again, it needs to provide a landscape analysis for the entire state. The work will then lead to, you can see that this proposal, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around just a little bit. This proposal talks about phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. We also, just to confuse you a little bit more, we talk about this work and this proposal being phase 1 of the plan development, and then phase 2 actually happens after this, after the work in this contract is completed. So apologies for that confusion. But within this contract, there are 3 phases. One is the data collection, which will be done by IHD. Phase 2 is the surveying, which will also be done by IHD, but those surveys will be distributed statewide to providers as well as individuals with disabilities and their caregivers. And then phase 3 will involve some community input sessions around the state, town halls, community conversations, as you can see here. All of this information will ultimately be brought together and included in the CRA document, which will then be presented to the council, will be the basis from which we build the initial draft of our 2027 through 2031 state plan. I'm not going to go through this word for word. Obviously, that would take us 3 days.
I'll just highlight a couple things.
Yeah, please do.
So the requirement for all councils to start this early is because the data collection takes so much time to collect. As you can see, we are required, all councils are required to seek public input. So from family members, individuals, IDD providers, any of the disability advocacy groups out there. So the first phase of that is to do surveys so that we can initially just get some information out there and collect it. But then we are going to identify key communities around the state, including unserved and underserved and tribal communities. So with the ad hoc committee that will be established, we hope to utilize their ideas of where to go in the community, who can we speak to, and it really is going to be a discussion about what are the needs and the gaps and what would they like, you know, as far as disability issues are concerned, what are they seeing on the ground that could be incorporated. So the first report that will be due, we're giving NAU a 3-month kind of, you know, just in case they need more time. The contract for this first report, which will include the survey feedback and the focus group survey information, will be compiled in this report due at the end of September, but we also notified them, you may need till the end of December to do all this collection and analysis. And through this period of time, NAU is going to meet with the ad hoc committee and staff to brief them on how this progress is going. I just want to make one other point on the data collection. The DD Act identifies what they call key areas of emphasis, such as employment, healthcare, quality assurance, which is around advocacy and prevention of sexual assault, sexual abuse. Not all of those areas, recreation and childcare, those are some of the other areas. Not all of them are required, but I believe NAU is going to try to capture as much data as possible from every area. And what that will mean in the second phase, when we get another proposal from NAU next year, is that they are going to help with the council and staff start to analyze this information in a way where you guys have to develop new goals, new objectives, and new activities. And that will happen in the spring of 2026. So working backwards of when this is submitted, your full 5-year plan, which is only actually 2 years that goes in, is your goals, your objectives, your activities based on the data, and how you want to prioritize the projects that you want to oversee and the implementation of it in the work plan that you guys are familiar with. So it's a lot of work, but we're going to start with the data collection. Megan Donahue, which is the staff person at NAU, she's actually in Wisconsin. We have been meeting with her for at least 2 months, 3 months possibly, discussing different things and different avenues about how to proceed with this. We don't anticipate, even though we know a new administration is coming in, we don't, like John said, it's uncertain if they're going to, how soon they may be making changes within the administration for community living. We certainly hope that, things move ahead as we have in the past, but the template itself will not change. The data collection will not change. And, it's better to start now than to wait to hear about what will happen with the HHS and ACL. So what you have in front of you is to look at just this phase 1 of the data collection broken out into 3 different activities. And the amount is 98,000 with a match, if you could just pull down the budget completely. So you see the staff people listed, their editors, their dissemination, facilitators. They are going to do the report also in plain language. So the total is going to be next budget form.
98,439.
Thank you, 98 for that right there, 98,439. So you can see that there's contracted services out for some of this work, supplies, fringe personnel, and then the required match of 32,810. So it's a full project of 131,249. Questions?
Okay. Yes. Does anybody have any questions for Marcy?
This is Kathy. I do. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm just wondering if for some reason the data is collected, but we can't move forward with using NAU. After that, we can't do an additional part of the contract. Will we have the raw data for in-house staff in-house to look at the data and maybe continue to move forward with,
Can I ask why, in case the funding ends? Are you
Yes.
talking about if we don't have funding?
Yes.
We're going to collect whatever they are able to provide to us at that point. That
Okay.
That the contract is that we no longer have a federal award, I think Lonnie and John kind of touched about this with all contracts. Obviously, a notice will go out to all contractors that there's going to be a specific ending date because of because of what's going on the federal level. And we will have to let them know what that specific ending date is and what has to be submitted to us at that point.
Okay.
So in regards to this, yes, I mean, unfortunately, we may get a lot of information that we will have to figure out, hold on to it because we're going to need additional information from the feds on what happens. Kathy, the only thing I can tell you that is somewhat similar that I went through, and I think this might be beneficial for the whole council to understand, especially those who have been around as long as I have. I feel like a dinosaur here. The old council was shut down for 3 months. And because it was under a statute, and then Governor Brewer created an executive order. So for 3 months, DES took care of notifying all contractors to stop and all their projects and receive, and then no more money was allocated and no more reimbursements were made, and everything was boxed and all the staff were let go. So when it was reconstituted under an executive order and staff were hired, I was one of the very first persons that started going through like over 80 boxes and trying to figure out what the heck to begin. And along with new council meetings, new council members and everything, it took a lot of time to begin, but the federal government itself stopped funding the council until they told Arizona, figure out what you're going to do. So in relative, kind of similar in this case, we're not going to know what's going to happen because it may take some time. If they make any significant changes to ACL, we're going to know with the communications that we have with our partners, with NACDD, John, and constant communication with our project staff person, Jack Brandt. Hopefully we're going to get some advance notice if they really make some significant changes. I think that would go the same with the P&A and the USENS because they are all funded under the same federal act.
Mhm.
ED Act funds the councils, the P&As, and the USEDs. And so we will have to mobilize and understand how that impacts, and we will give the council notice as well of what that means.
Yeah, my concern is that we get the raw data if we have to
You'll
do
get
it
whatever
ourselves as a
is up to
council.
that point.
Yeah.
You will receive up to that point.
Yeah.
And that includes all contracts. But
Okay.
yes, and specifically to this one, yes.
All right, thank you.
Mary.
Just kind of along those lines. So in a way, this information can be very functional for the state in terms of what the current needs of people with developmental IDD are.
Yeah.
For Arizona, and that can be used by any advocacy group.
Oh, and I should mention, many of you may be aware that the Division of Developmental Disabilities is going through a strategic planning process right now. They just announced it. And some of that work is underway already. They're doing a series of surveys around the state. I spoke with Zane Garcia Ramadan, the director of DDD, or assistant director for DDD, a couple of weeks ago, about the fact that we are going to be doing our data collection at the same time they're going to be doing their data collection. There's some overlap, and it doesn't make sense for us to duplicate our efforts. We're serving the same population, essentially. So he has agreed that DDD will be willing to share some of their information with us as we do our CRA and data collection process. And we certainly will be willing to share data with DDD as we learn things. So there is an opportunity for us to perhaps reduce the workload that's related to this, but if not reduce the workload, at least have multiple sources of data that can inform the work that's being done.
How can you prevent the overlap then?
Well, I don't know that we can fully prevent the overlap because their time frame is, they're starting a little bit earlier than we are. And, you know, we, in some respects, are reaching out to an identical audience.
Mm-hmm.
But if they are willing and able to share with us some information that they learn early in their process, that might help us to make some adjustments to our process once we begin it, and maybe we won't have to do all of the things that we are anticipating doing. Maybe that information will already be in hand.
And how will that affect, the people who are getting services from DDD and then they want help from us?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have any effect at all on those individuals who are receiving services. This process is for us, it doesn't immediately translate into a change in what we're doing. The whatever we find out as part of this process isn't going to be implemented in our state plan for really another 2 years. So yeah, there's a bit of a lag there.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay, any other questions for John? We're just a big bowl of mystery today on Friday, aren't we? Wow. Okay, hearing no other comments or questions for John, I am going to call for a motion to approve, and let me make the motion first. The ISA for Comprehensive Review and Analysis Institute for Human Development, NAU, in the amount of $98,439. Do I have a motion? This is Vijette.
Aye.
Thank you, Vijette. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Sophie, thank you so much. All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Is anyone abstaining?
This is Kelly. I am abstaining. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. So noted. All right, motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, do you need to mention our ad hoc state plan development committee?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. The next item under this point on the agenda is a state plan development committee that we asked Melissa to approve in order to help with the process. Marcy mentioned this in her remarks. We are putting together an ad hoc committee that will serve only during the period of time that the state plan development is underway. And the point of the committee is to help with review of the CRA and other information that's gathered during this process, and to support outreach into communities around the state as we do our community input sessions. And so what we've done is we've tried to assemble a group of council members and others who represent communities that are in most cases outside the valley. We don't have any shortage of representation or information probably from the greater Phoenix area, but we are looking for individuals who represent communities that we don't always have a presence in. So we were fortunate that Melissa approved establishing a committee, and we have reached out to some individuals on the council to serve on that committee. And I'm pleased to say that, okay.
Yeah, you're,
Okay.
they
Pleased to
committed
say-
in an email.
Yes, we
Go
have
help us.
received commitments from Viget, representing Lake Havasu City and the Mojave County area, from Vanessa Felix, who lives in Yuma, representing Yuma County. Bianca Demara has given a tentative yes, although there is, some question at this point about whether that will be a possibility. Bianca is in Tucson and would represent the Pima, Santa Cruz, Cochise County areas. We have our fingers crossed that's going to work out for Bianca. We've also asked Kelly Roberts to appoint somebody from the IHD team. So Sarah Clancy, who works at IHD, is an assistant or associate director at IHD. She will be serving on the committee. We work with Sarah quite closely on one of our parenting supports grants, and Sarah knows Northern Arizona quite well. Megan Cox has agreed to serve as well. Megan, thank you. Sarah's an assistant director. Megan is a native of, I always get these wrong, Apache or Mojave or Navajo County. I'm sorry. But anyway, Megan has great relationships with several tribal entities, and I think can help us to establish relationships so that we get tribal perspectives as part of this as well. And then Kathy Lewandowski, who chairs the Work Plan Review Committee, and Melissa, who is the council chair. They will also be serving on the committee. And Leanne Fuller, who is on the call today and is a prospective council member and who lives in Pinal County. She is also going to serve on that committee and help us do outreach to some rural communities here in South Central Arizona. So I think I got it.
I think you got everybody. And, and with that being said, if there are other people that want to serve on this committee, you are more than welcome to, and it's ad hoc. It's not a forever committee. So we are just trying to cover the state. So if you want to serve, we'd love to have you.
Melissa, I'd like to help with self-advocates.
Amazing. Thank you. Monica, we're going to add you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. You got anything else to add, John?
No, just we appreciate the willingness of these individuals to serve on this committee. It obviously helps us when we have folks who live in communities outside the valley, helping us to do work and in those communities and reach the residents of those areas. So thank you very much for that. And we'll try not to add too much to your current work list.
As part of it, I think too, I would like to help, talk to self-advocates, and then maybe they can help, or we can find other self-advocates. I know they're helping with the other parts of the state, but I'd like to, as far as reaching out to other self-advocacy groups that I know and the groups I belong to.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Monica, thank you. Okay, Sophie, go ahead.
Can we give funding to digital companies either?
I did not. Sophie, can you repeat that a little bit louder near your mic?
Yeah. Can we give funding to digital company theater?
We cannot right now. We cannot discuss that, but I think that you need to speak with John about that if it's an idea for a project, okay?
Okay.
It's not on our agenda. So thank you so much, though.
Okay.
All right, John, you can follow up with Ms. Sophie, please.
I will do that.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, guys, we are going to move on to agenda item F, and we have got 3 presentations today, so hopefully we can do quick committee work group report outs. So our first one, Monica, and either Lonnie or Marcy, if you want assistance for grants committee.
We have not met since the last full council meeting. So there's really nothing new accept what Lonnie said in the fiscal report.
Okay, thank you so much. Talk about keeping it brief. All right, guys. Okay, so next up is me, Melissa, from Meaningful Careers. So I'm going to try and read this quickly. Staff completed a write-up of the 14 Meaningful Careers activities, which were completed in fiscal year 2024 for our Program Performance Report, or PPR. John and Marcy are reviewing and editing the write-up and will include it in the council's overall 2024 PPR submitted to the administration for community living. In fiscal year 2025, we are exploring conducting a leadership development and training program for individuals with IDD and family members with information and skills to become leaders and advocates for systems change in Arizona. We want to develop and support capacity building and systemic change to increase inclusion and involvement of people with IDD in their communities through the promotion of self-determination, independence, and dignity in all aspects of life. If everything falls into place, we plan to kick the program off with an in-person session for up to 30 individuals in March of 2025, deliver 7 virtual sessions led by national experts each month through August 2025. And Mike is working hard with those national experts. They're pretty impressive. We can get them all to commit, right? And have a second in-person session for the leadership training and put all the pieces together. Next, we are generating lots of enthusiasm and support for Think College, thanks to our supporting inclusive practices in college project with the Institute for Human Development at Northern Arizona University. So that project is also a passion project, Mike of mine too, has spawned a new collaborative of inclusive post-secondary education programs, so things past high school, for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Yesterday, we had a meeting with representatives from ASU, Grand Canyon University, NAU, and the U of A to further strengthen the alliance of universities and their respective programs and increase awareness of post-secondary opportunities and for students with IDD. We are moving forward in the near future with pulling in our community colleges, many around the state as we can, as we know that is a huge, important piece for our students and young adults. We are meeting with transition specialists and special education teachers and sharing information on the council and our resources specifically, created to increase awareness of post-secondary education, transition, graduation targets, apprenticeships, career and technical education, able accounts, and employment. A lot of information. We're sharing policy briefs on dual enrollment, college-based transition services, Project Search, and Think College. We attended a resource and transition fair, or Mike did, and other staff at Tucson Unified School District, and have been invited to attend a career expo at Chandler Unified School District's Build for Tomorrow. Guys are busy. Martin Appel, District Transition and TSW Coordinator for Mesa Public Schools, wants to meet with the Sonoran Center for Excellence in Disabilities about possibly starting Project Search in Mesa Public Schools, and wants to know how to get the process started. I know, so exciting. So Mike is is facilitating a meeting with Martin and JC Farkas, if you said, to start the conversation. Project Search is a unique business-led one-year employment preparation program that takes place at the workplace, which is one of the things that's so great about it. There are 2 programs. So one for high school students transitioning into the workforce and one for adults. It creates an opportunity for career exploration through various hands-on trainings in a variety of departments. Participants acquire competitive, transferable, and marketable job skills. So 344 interns have graduated from Project Search in all of Arizona, and 71% of Arizona Project Search graduates obtained competitive and graded employment in 2019. And I really hope we can make this happen. We really wanted to expand a few places. Almost done. We plan to create a new Pathways to the Future resources which complement the 6 that were created last year. So in addition to the others, preparing for college and work for refugees with disabilities will be shared with educators, transition specialists, support coordinators, and others to help individuals and families with transition and future planning. So I want to thank everybody on my Meaningful Careers Committee, probably forget what my face looks like, for supporting these and many more activities during the past year. And I promise our committee will meet soon. Right, Mike?
Right.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right. You're welcome. If no questions, we'll move on to meaningful careers. Oh, wait,
Are you
here
sure?
it is. Oh, systems access. There we go. You know what? Guys, I jumped around and I went right ahead. So meaningful careers is done. So we should have gone to Jim. Thank you. So polite. Didn't even say a word. I just cut in line. So Shanna is going to give us an update on system access and navigation.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Oh my goodness.
So, so the System Access and Navigation Committee has overseen and completed several projects this past year. The Getting Started Guide and the Focus on the Rural Health Report. For us, we decided, it's really time for us to level set as a committee and take a second look at the priorities that we're focusing on as a committee. With the focus, we've already talked about, with the focus being on the aging population and underserved communities. Our next meeting will be a planning meeting to decide what's next for us. Thinking about systems access, what role does the council serve to make access more open for our people with developmental disabilities? And so the committee is open to ideas from the council, and as we get together, and we promise to meet again soon, and set our direction for 2025.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And for your committee. Do you guys have any resources that are out yet for families? And here's why I ask. I get calls all the time from parents who got newly diagnosed. Usually it's newly diagnosed. I have one with an 8-year-old who's desperate, who can't get DDD to respond. He's trying to apply, had no idea on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
Do you guys have stuff right now that I can turn this data over to?
Yeah, so our Get Started Guide is up on the website right now. And you can always refer to family or raising special kids too.
Oh,
we can definitely help them with getting started as well. But yes, the guide is on the website. And we did all acknowledge too as a committee that, the guide it's really never going to be 100% complete. Yeah, it's going to be a living, guide that will consistently change over time. And we really also acknowledge, that's why we want to continue our focus on the aging population, is that it does need some more robust support for focus on the aging. We
absolutely,
I think we all agreed at the very beginning that all of the information in there from birth all the way up to adulthood is rich. And, it's really, really, I think, going to help and be a game changer for people that are just moving to Arizona. Maybe they're stuck in a transition stage or something like that. But the aging piece, we still acknowledge needs a little more work on it, which we know that that's a statewide systemic issue anyway.
Yep.
And so hopefully we've kind of learned of some things coming down the pipe from some other state agencies that want to do some collaborative work. So we're hoping that maybe that might be a part of the focus as well.
That would be great, because it's whatever stage people are at. It's are there resources for this, and then how the heck do I access them? It's like, it's great when they say, here, do this, go get it, and then they're just at an impasse. They're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't understand what all this means. I'm not hearing a lot from
What we
family.
can't have is sharing an 800 number or a broken
No.
link. We're just not going to do that.
And I'm like a little soft from hearing parents cry on the phone.
Right.
Just and dads just desperate. I'm like, this is really not okay. So
With you on that.
Okay.
100%.
I will connect with
The
you.
thing that's on the website should lead them to some pretty good information on where to go get it.
For sure.
So, and then there's a response to it too, right? And then asking the person using it, was this helpful?
Was this
How was it
helpful?
How wasn't it
Okay.
helpful? So, and in there, some places going to be raising special kids and stuff.
Yep, it's in there. Okay.
So it's a good way to test it out too.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
That's a good point, Mary. Yeah, you're right about that.
Isn't it in plain language?
Monica, that's a really great question. I have to take a second look at it. I think because it's resource information, it's mainly like titles of organizations and links and addresses and phone numbers and things like that. I think that could fall under the category of plain language. But Sarah, could you help me with that question?
Yes, of course. So Monica, I would say it is mostly in plain language with a few exceptions. But what we can do is go back and probably edit that, because I like the idea of having it 100% in plain
Right.
language.
I'm sorry, I'm just a proponent of plain language.
No, we
No
need it.
need to apologize. I am too.
Yeah.
We've talked often about that. So let me do another check on that. And one thing I did want to highlight, I hear you, Melissa. I get those calls too about people who have tried to call DDD to enroll, doing all the things that they've been told to do, and then they don't hear anything. Here's what we're seeing. Here's the reality right now. There has been so much change, and people still keep moving to Arizona. The tax on the system is really high. So some of the resources that we've actually been relying on for many years in the disability community and the social services community, we have to start thinking creatively, because the need has grown and the resources have stayed the same or even shrunk. So we're seeing this in a lot of different organizations that I call. One way to tackle this that John has approved, and we have already started to pilot it, November was the first month. Every Tuesday of first Tuesday of the month, the ADDPC is going to start hosting walk-in office hours, specifically for members of the community who need help navigating these various systems and who need a little bit of some more intense, maybe like casework, informal casework, that is complementary to the formal casework they might be getting from support coordinators or elsewhere, because we know everyone is maxed out and we can move quickly and we think a little bit more creatively sometimes. Jason is very good at this and he's helped many people, but some people just want to sit down with someone and like bring their paperwork. So we actually started to do this, and we've already helped a couple people. Happy to share more, but that's one way we're trying to combat. I know it's not a large scale solution, but we're doing our part.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, I'll be telling people, and I hope you're tracking data on all that. I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
That matters. Wow. Thank you both so much. I got some more. Ken, did you have a question or comment?
Yes, I do. With regards to the resources for the aging population, will it be, does it comes in the handbook, or is it just website searches? Because most of the aging population may not be tech savvy, and it kind of turn off, if I have to search it online and I don't even know how to turn on the computer, then it's going to, turn off a lot of, help for them. So it comes in handbook. It'll be, easier, how our aging population, some of them like to read, and they're able to take their time and refer. So that's just my opinion.
Janet and Mary, do you want to address that?
Sarah had something to you.
Oh, but you decide, the three of you.
The community of practice is starting to focus in some certain categories for the aging population and IDD. So one of those categories is going to be access to technology, because we've talked about how IHD is working with college students and technology modifications to be able to make technology more useful for students. The same kind of thing can apply to aging people who aren't used, or myself included for sure, used to using technology for everything and getting your answers there. So that's one of the whole areas that we're going to focus on in the community of practice for aging, and dig into that category to try to come up with solutions or find some. So we recognize that that's one of the problems for sure.
So like Jitterbug, but for
Yeah,
health services.
we have had some experience with that with Ann.
Love it. Okay. Awesome.
I don't know if that answers it, but yes, it's a problem.
Okay. Sarah, did you have anything to add before we move on?
Mary covered it.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. Your committee, you guys are doing some really important work. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Finally, Jason, behavioral health and IDD.
All right, this is gonna be a quick update. Well, if you're not familiar, we did a crisis report about 2 years ago now. And we decided with the group that we're gonna do a follow-up report. So we've been meeting every 2 weeks, recently with the MCOs and agencies. managed care organizations. Sorry, I used the initial term.
You're forgetting.
So I just want and so we decided to, so we're gonna meet every month, starting in December, sometime to just, try getting research for another report, you know, just to see where we've accomplished and what we need to still accomplish. And then, so that's pretty much the update. I would want to say, I guess, obviously some of the people in that group is also, were part of the group that helped me write not helped me write, but helped me with the stuck in the system report. And we did do a roundtable at the Flint Foundation. And actually that was pretty successful. We had 31 people there on Zoom and in person. And we did make some, headway with with different entities in public, like the Public Defender's Office and the ADDPC, and they made some connections. And also with Teros and some of the people that serve the behavioral committee. So, and they want more, they want to hear more from us. So, just thank you for those people that were there, and if you were there, and that's pretty much all I have. If I know, Melissa, you're part of that committee as well, and also if you want to add something, you can. But
More updates soon. We
Yeah.
we have more work to do. We
Yeah.
need to have a plan moving forward. Like part of that summary is really on what are our successes so far, and then what are the huge major. There's so much left to tackle, but and then prioritizing where we want to go.
Yeah.
So, okay. I have so much I could say, but it's like, maybe I'll talk to you later after this. So it involves you guys. Okay, thank you. And finally, on report outs, Kathy Lewandowski, our work plan review.
Mine's really short because you've heard everything from John and Marcy. So the group met on November 1st, and John and Marcy did a rapid overview of the federal fiscal year 24 and 25 annual work plans. And then they provided an overview of what the process would be for the 27 to 2031 state plan development process. That included data collection, draft the plan, community input, and then development of ad hoc state plan development committee. So that was what our meeting was about, and you heard all about that earlier today. And we're just looking forward to the results from the work that is done, and we'll continue to work meet when there is information that we need as a work group to work on. And that's it.
Okay, Kathy, thank you. Thank you for chairing that committee. I know it's a lot. I'm so glad you're leading that one and not me. You're so good at it. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to agenda item G, our staff and grantee presentations. Kind of excited. Do you have anything to say before we get going, or we?
Yeah, I just wanted to really quickly set the stage for some of the stuff. As I think everyone knows, we conducted a community survey, statewide community survey, in August and September of this year, and Sarah is going to provide a brief overview of some of the results. I do want to say, we need to spend a lot more time analyzing this information, and it is a way to inform some of the work that's going to be done on the CRA development. But it is not the be all and end all with regard to disability information around the state. So just a little caveat. Sarah will explain a little bit more as she goes along. I also asked Melanie Mills and Cy In to present on the supported decision-making project that they are leading for the ARC of Arizona and Disability Rights Arizona. As everyone knows, supported decision-making is a project this council has been supporting for a number of years. Legislation is in place now to formally recognize supported decision-making as an alternative to guardianship in Arizona. And even though we are in the middle of the project year, I thought it was important for them to provide a little bit of information, first of all, about what supported decision-making is and isn't, because there's still a lot of misconceptions out there, but also to give an update on the successes they've had, because I can tell you in the year and a half they've been working on this project, they have had some amazing successes. And then finally, Ryan Berry, who's a program director with the ARC of Tempe, the Arc of Tempe is working with the Arc of Arizona on our self-advocacy project. Once again, it's the middle of a contract year, but they've had so much success and really so many great things to report on. I wanted you to be able to hear what's being done, largely because self-advocacy is, I mean, it is the one mandatory goal area for every council across the nation. And we are seeing some real steps forward with that. So thought that it would be valuable to bring everybody up to speed, and especially at a time when, you know, there is so much uncertainty. It's great to have some good news, and both of these projects are filled with good news. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Okay, Sarah, you're up.
Thank
Community
you so
survey.
much. So, I will be relying on I think it's John, you're running the slides. I was feeling under the weather today, and so that's why I am remoting in, but I did want to share some of the insights we were able to come up with. John, I can also bring it up too if you want me to do it on my end.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I apologize. I forgot to bring it up.
That's okay. So that was a great intro provided by John. I think what I'm about to present with you all is really a broad brush, but I want each council member to know we are happy to share full access to the entire survey results, which includes the quantitative and the qualitative, basically the individual responses that people shared with us. And I would actually, if that's something that interests you, I would encourage you to reach out to me, tell John, we will email you that link. Why is that important? Well, we had 91 people take this survey, and we would ask certain questions, and sometimes people wanted to just share what was on their mind and share lots of ideas in narrative form with one question that may or may not have had to do with what we were asking. And that's okay. So the data, or what was shared, was very rich. It was almost like a mini CRA. It was almost like a mini 5-state plan tour, like Kelly and her team up at IHC is working on. So I encourage any of you, let us know if you'd like access to those. It's a fascinating read. I really hope it helps us plan for the future. All right, I found the slides here. And I am going to
We need to enable screen shares that are.
Yeah, you have to stop sharing and let her present. At the top,
I think she can present over.
let's see.
Kelly Roberts is commenting that she would love to see the research.
Kelly, you're yes, it's a fun read. You'll be like, oh.
And helpful for them too. So.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I have this in presenter view. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen once I press. So let's see. You guys tell me what you see.
Nothing yet.
Okay.
No, you should be able to just push the button and it should work.
Okay.
You can go on the website, the presentation.
Yeah, one of the attachments on the website for the meeting.
Yeah, it's probably weird.
You all see this?
Yes, we can.
That's okay.
Sort of.
Excellent.
Thank you.
It's in the wrong, yeah, but you're all right.
Oh yeah, wait a minute, hold on. No, this is oh mercy. Can we just bring up the PDF that was attached? I was trying to present in Canva, but
Yeah, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Apologies there, everyone.
sorry y'all.
There you go.
Oh,
There you go.
oh, we lost it again.
I guess it's okay.
Don't panic, anyone. John, you got it.
Awesome.
There you go.
Excellent. Okay. I will have to give up my little animations, but that's okay. I can live with it. All right. So, yes, let's go to the next slide. We had 91 people take this. And one of the first questions we asked was, are you familiar with ADDPC? Okay, 4 out of 5 folks said yes, they are. And that makes sense. That's because we shared this primarily through our digital channels. So that includes the email newsletter multiple times. That includes sharing with partners that may not be working with us, you know, often, but that we met at events. That includes folks who interacted with our social channels. So we knew that this was going to be really, you know, in favor of a lot of people being familiar with what we do. And it's interesting that even among, you know, the friendly faces we were sending this to, 19% still said no. So that means on the communication side, I have a lot of work to do still. All right, let's go to the next slide. Another interesting question we asked pretty high out the gate. Do you consider yourself to be a self-advocate? 2 out of 5, 40% of the respondents said yes, but the majority said no. Again, this was not a surprise. You know, we work with a lot of family members. We work with a lot of professionals that serve the DD community, you know, including providers or special education staff, teachers, you know, DDD support coordinators. So this, again, was not a surprising statistic for us to see. Okay, so we kept it very general for folks there at the beginning of our survey, and we wanted to have an easy way for people to rate us. So what did we do? We chose good old 5-star rankings, and we allowed people to rank us, and they gave us a 3.3 out of 5 stars. You know, about 12 people marked that ADDPC is serving Arizona in a just okay way, while 11 people marked we are serving Arizona in an excellent way. Interestingly, 5 people marked not at all. We did see a couple of people skip this question. And, you know, our sample size is on the smaller side, but I find this kind of data insightful regardless. Here are some really key takeaways after reading through a lot of the narrative of our respondents' answers that they gave us. So caregiver support, housing, and employment were top of mind for many people who took our survey. We had many questions, probably too many now that I think about it, asking people what was most important to them. But these were the main things. You know, a lot of things are important to people with developmental disabilities and those who care for them and those who advocate for them. But right now, in this moment, this is what is on people's hearts. Support for caregivers, affordable housing, appropriate housing, you know, housing options, and of course, employment, meaningful employment were really important. Another key takeaway, while the council, ADDPC, is known in certain circles, particularly in the IDD community, there's absolutely room for improvement. A lot of people don't know who we are. So again, that's on outreach folks like myself to get the word out more. How do we do that? Well, we must develop new relationships and partners to accomplish all of these amazing goals and activities and objectives we work so hard on in this room, in our committees. And it's time to think broader, I think, because again, a lot of the traditional resources and channels that have worked for many years, those are shifting, they're overtaxed. So that means developing new relationships. There's a need to leverage technology differently to reach our audiences. We're seeing this all across all aspects of society, so that's not that's not a surprising statement. And we have the unique focus, and I'm going to plug my computer in. So bear with me for one moment. We have the unique responsibility to provide a lot of accommodations, right? For people who may not have access to digital resources. We were talking about the aging community earlier, right? So while we're not going to give up our like printed materials, give me 1 second while I plug this in. We're not going to give up our printed materials, but you know, the role of videos, the role of, you know, forums and Facebook groups and other new things that are coming forth due to AI, we really need to consider that. And the final takeaway is our grants programs. Our grants programs, they are not always known. In fact, the majority of folks who took this survey, they actually weren't very familiar with our grants. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. Next slide. Okay. So I know we're running out of time, so I don't want to spend too much on this, but this was a snapshot into those narratives I was sharing with you. I encourage everybody to look through this in the materials that John shared, in the materials on online. These were other topics that people think we should focus on over the next 5 years, things that they are worried about or excited about or want us to direct our energies towards. Next slide. There's actually 3 of these. It was hard to choose. Healthcare and housing, you know, advocacy training, healthy relationships is always popular. More focus on self-advocates and self-advocate-led projects, and of course, employment. So, biggest challenges, your caregiver experience. This was an important question. Employment, top of the list. Again, we're seeing a theme. Almost just as important, being included in my community. 45% of folks said making friends and having fun. 44% mentioned finding services responding to their unique needs. And 40%, 2 out of 5 folks, ranked healthcare as one of the biggest challenges. So we're going to talk about grants just real briefly. A slight majority did not know we offered grants. This brings up a really important point, though. I work hard and Marcy works hard to cultivate relationships in the philanthropy community. One cool thing is that John has a lot of deep roots in that community, and so he has linked us up with AZ Impact for Good, which is the big, formerly known alliance for AZ nonprofits. And so we are bridging that gap, but a lot of those folks are not involved with the disability community. So we're really like, we're trying to increase the knowledge between those 2 groups. Okay, next slide. We had a very small amount of people answer the grants questions because we only wanted to ask people familiar with applying for the grants to, you know, respond. It was clear from the small sample, though, that there were some people who found it a little challenging to apply with the current process. Next slide. So these are just some some narratives that people shared. And one of the reasons why I wanted to share them was because they offered really specific solutions that I think are within our reach. This involves the form that they use and, you know, how we interact with them when we offer grants. Marcy does an amazing job at answering their questions. No one mentioned that they didn't have enough information. This just got down to kind of the nuts and bolts. And what gives me hope is like, I feel like something that we can really, you know, modify and tweak, and people, you know, will feel comfortable with it. One challenge, of course, is that federal grants are federal grants. They are the hardest type of grants to get. And with COVID, we've seen a lot of people, especially at the city level, speed up the time and make it easier for local groups to get grants, but they are very flexible because they are city dollars. We have to follow certain rules. And but there's probably a way to message that better to our potential grantees, and we want to, serve them. So those were just some highlights. Again, a practical idea someone was offering, for applicants. But I just want to tell everybody on this call, I know we all work really hard, and this survey was a great way to reflect on how we can continue to improve. And I think we're all about that. There's room for improvement across everything we do. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry, I've probably gone on too long, but that's just a key snapshot look into our survey results.
And I'm going to jump in really quickly here because I think it's really important in looking at those responses to the grants related questions. Now, we all know, and I think Marcy knows better than anybody, that our grant application is cumbersome and it's complicated, and there's a reason for that. And in large part, that reason is outside of our control. The federal government says we have to get certain information from grant applicants. It says we have to. Bijette is nodding her head because I think you live in this world every single day. The federal government says we have to do things in a certain way. So while there is room for improvement potentially in the grants area, we have to bear in mind that over the years, Marcy has done just about everything possible to make our grant application accessible, understandable, comprehensible, and perhaps there are opportunities for improvement. But I would say we have to bear in mind that the federal government doesn't budge on these things very easily. So we and other councils who face similar issues probably need to be advocating with ACL and with other federal partners to see if they can loosen their grip on this a little bit and help us to create applications that are more accessible. We know that we don't get a lot of applications from small nonprofits. We know that we don't get a lot of applications from rural nonprofits. There may be some reasons why that we can analyze, and we can then advocate for change at the federal level. But I just want to point out that in the near term, our hands are to a large extent tied. And so we'll look for ways to improve, and we want to be doing a better job serving and offering support to any grant seeker who comes to us. But we have limitations on what we can do. So I just want to be clear about that. It's not that we aren't receptive to those messages. It's not that we don't want to do all we can for communities around the state. Sometimes it's just out of our hands.
Especially for those groups that are led by self-advocates, because, the advisors may understand that and be willing to help, but if a self-advocate group led by self-advocates wants to apply, they couldn't because they couldn't understand it.
Yes, Kathy, go ahead.
So even the federal government recognizes the difficulty with applying for grants and contracts. And they have even begun to have sessions where they talk about the grant application, and they recognize that small businesses, nonprofits are having a hard time applying. And they're even trying to do things to help help the nonprofits and the small businesses understand the application process. So I think we could do that on our part too. I know it's a lot of work, but I'm not sticking up for the federal government. I just know that they understand they've got a problem here too. So, and this is what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is room for improvement.
Yeah.
We all know.
So thank you very much, Sarah, for the presentation. We will get the survey results out to anybody who wants to see them. There is quite a lot there in it, and I think it's going to help us as an initial step in working on the CRA and the state plan development for the next 5 years. I want to turn it over now to Melanie and Cy for the supported decision-making project.
Hello, everyone. John, do you want me to share slides? Would
Yes.
that be here? Okay. We are going to figure this out.
Guess.
All right, it looks like it's working. Perfect. All right, hello everybody. So I am Melanie Mills. Oh, what is it doing? It's not letting me advance. Why not? Technology is great when it works. There we go. Just needed a moment to catch up. Again, my name is Melanie Mills. I'm the state director for the ARC of Arizona. I've been working professionally in the IDD field now for 22 years. 20 of those years we're working for a local chapter of the ARC in Cottonwood, and then transitioned about 2.5 years ago into the state director position for the ARC of Arizona. I also have several family members who have been diagnosed with various disabilities and have supported them my entire life. And that is kind of me in a nutshell. Sai, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone, and happy Friday. My name is Sai In. I'm a staff attorney with Disability Rights Arizona. I've been with DRAZ since 2018, and I've been working on the supported decision-making project since then, too. So happy to be here with you all today.
Thanks, Sai. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about today with this project is why self-determination is so important. So some of the key areas that we focus on is that it empowers personal choice for individuals, giving them control over their lives. We've found that individuals who are able to exercise more control in their lives lead happier lives. It also helps to build confidence and independence. It's enhancing their quality of their life. It's creating respects for their rights and their dignity. It encourages growth in their self-advocacy, and it's strengthening their social connections, and it's reducing overdependence on guardianship. That's always been the go-to for so long, for so many decades now. And now that we're seeing that people are able to make decisions for themselves, they are leading more meaningful, happier lives. But we do recognize that, especially with supported decision making, it may not be an appropriate fit for everyone, but we advocate that it should be tried first.
So supported decision making in a nutshell. So this is a very high level overview of supported decision making. And if you want to know more about what supported decision making is, I invite you to join one of our in-person or virtual presentations. We'll have a link to the virtual one at the end of the presentation. But supported decision making overall is an alternative to guardianship. It is where the individual calls the shots. So prior to supported decision-making being signed into law, individuals and their families or caregivers were only presented with like a few options. Generally, it was like guardianship or limited guardianship or maybe like a rep payee arrangement. There was no opportunity to formalize like a supported decision-making arrangement, help the individual develop decision-making skills. So that's what it is. Supported decision-making is an alternative to guardianship where the individual forms a team of supporters, and the supporters help them in different areas of their lives. So for example, if the individual wants support in pursuing education or taking classes, the individual will ask people around them for support in those areas. The individual with supports will assess their strengths in areas where they may need support. So sometimes there are areas in a person's lives where they're good, they're solid, and they know what they're doing, and there are areas where they may need support. So supported decision making is like looking at all those areas and determining where the individual may need support. The individual is the chooser. They will choose supporters for those areas that they need support. So generally it's family members, loved ones, supporters, caregivers, those people who are a part of the day-to-day action. And the supporter will help. So the supporter's role is to help in accessing information, understanding content in plain language. So we talked about plain language earlier in today's meeting. So plain language is a common theme in communicating those decisions. So for example, if the individual is going to like a healthcare appointment and they're nervous, the doctor is throwing out a lot of medical language and words that are not being communicated in plain language, the supporter will help ask questions and will communicate decisions and help facilitate effective communication. So what supported decision making is not, it is not the supporter supplanting their values or their wishes or their thoughts. The supporter is there as kind of like a mechanism to help build development skills and help communicate with others.
Thanks, Sai. So some goals of the project have been to conduct trainings virtually and in person throughout Arizona, create easy to understand resources in plain language, ensuring accessibility and are available in other languages, using multiple advertising strategies to reach more individuals with an emphasis on rural areas and underserved communities, update presentations for specific audiences, working with key stakeholders to improve and update their internal trainings on all support options that are available, share presentation templates with other organizations, including presenter talking points to empower more individuals to inform their own organizations going forward. So far, since the project began in July 2023, we have trained over 1,800 individuals throughout Arizona. 14 of those trainings have been conducted in person, and we have covered Maricopa County, Mojave County, Pima County, Pinal County, Santa Cruz County, and Yavapai County for those in-person sessions. And then we have also provided 23 virtual presentations. Some of those have been open to the general public, as well as others that were specific to the Division of Developmental Disabilities, Adult Protective Services employees, and then some of our MCO partners.
So we've had the opportunity and good fortune to create really good accessible information for people to learn about supported decision making and like what it is, developing FAQs, frequently asked questions. So here you'll see an example, like one, a document that we created. So what are supported decision making? So these are, or what is supported decision making? My apologies. So these are like 4 common questions that we have heard about in our practice, and it gives kind of like a very big overview of what supported decision making is. We've also created other resources like making an accessible supported decision-making template, which individuals can use and fill out electronically, or they can print out and fill out and get signed and witnessed or notarized. We've also partnered with DDD to create an explainer document that includes like information about all these different alternatives that are available to the individual, including supported decision making. And we're still in the process of creating even more materials. So lots of materials are coming your way. So please look for those resources on our website, and those materials will be in Spanish. And I think we're in the process of looking at developing materials in different languages as well.
Yeah, so here's an example of an actual supported decision-making agreement and kind of, you know, the basics for it. And one of the things that we've done during our trainings is we create a scenario and then we actually fill out a supported decision-making agreement based on that scenario. We explain that this fillable form is available on our website and that these different areas next to the yes and no's can be modified to be more specific or more broad depending on the needs of the individuals, and that this is just a template. So some of our outreach strategies have included radio advertisements that were focused on more of the rural areas, explaining that we have these trainings available and that there are resources available. We did 30-second clips for that. We've also made sure to engage on all of our social media platforms. So you can see Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok. When we are going to be doing an in-person session here in Arizona, we will try to locate local bulletin boards, whether it's at a rec center or at a library, to post notices that we will be providing that training. We've done direct email and in our newsletters. We've also been conducting some data mining for contacts in the education and legal field. We've had some interns that have been contacting the different school districts and getting those direct contacts for educators so that we can email them directly instead of depending on the schools to disseminate the information to their educators. We've been attending and tabling disability conferences in Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff. We've been leveraging contacts to help disseminate resources and flyers to their membership, including our advisory committee. And we've created videos that include ASL and are available in Spanish on our website. And we've also been disseminating those via those platforms that we spoke about. I did see we had a hand raised.
Yeah, it was me. Hi, this is Sophie. I know that there was a bill that passed and it was supportive decision making, and that was from my Jonathan Longden, and I was the one why that bill was passed.
Thank you, Sophie.
Of course, thank you.
So we have a template, we have a version, but the version is always, it's a breathing, growing document. It's a breathing, growing like entity because when we do these presentations, we get really good questions that we hadn't thought about before. And sometimes Melanie and myself will be like, oh, let us think about it. And sometimes we'll be able to come up with an answer on the spot. Sometimes we grab their email address and then we touch base with them later. But these meetings come with like really good questions from individuals and their supporters that directly affect the lives of this community. So based on the participation from these presentations, we are always updating our curriculum in our presentation. We have added industry-specific slides and talking points when working with these audiences. So you've heard Melanie talk about presentations with our MCOs. So we make them healthcare specific in that instance. For example, a lot of materials are developed for doctors who are completing medical evaluations and health professional questionnaires when it comes to guardianship. So when we're doing these presentations, we're asking doctors and healthcare providers to look at this guidance to really determine what an individual's capacity is and to look at whether other alternatives would be appropriate. So the advisory committee, we have a robust advisory committee filled with self-advocates, with providers, caregivers, doctors, attorneys. They help shape the content. They help shape the materials that we are going to talk about. and as the law changes and new research materials become available, so do our presentations. So, for example, voting, recent change in voting recently, where an individual would need to, if an individual is petitioned for guardianship, the voting is not automatically taken away. So there's more kind of judicial evaluation there. This is me too. So engaging with organizations, we have partnered with a lot of organizations, and we're trying to partner with even more. So DDD, of course, Adult Protective Services, Mercy Care, United Healthcare, Raising Special Kids, Care for the Caregivers, First Place, the local ARC chapters, Tempe Unified, and we have even more presentations scheduled for the future.
So one of the other key areas that we're going to be focusing on is creating more access to the templates of training so that other organizations can take those templates and then integrate it into their own practices. And so we are going to have set templates for the general public, specifically those for educators, medical professionals, legal professionals, and then those that are in that transition age for youth and their families for that future planning component. And our next virtual training is next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And so you can register for that at this link or on our website at arcarizona.org. And we just want to thank ADDPC for your ongoing efforts to make sure that self-determination is a priority for people in the IDD community. And if you have any questions.
Is that the 26th or the 28th? I can't see it.
26.
26.
Okay.
Thank you. We did have a good question from Ken in the chat. Can the support decision making be reversed if it was found that the individual may not be making decisions that help them?
So a supported decision-making agreement can be terminated by the individual, like at any time. And for any reason, the individual would just need to let the supporter know that they're revoking the supported decision-making agreement, and let any providers who have received the agreement know that that relationship has ended.
Okay, and it sounds like, and I'm guessing because I know Ken well, I think that she's asking from the parent perspective. If somebody chooses to go the supported decision-making route and they have concerns that it's not in the best interest of that individual, I think you can speak up if I've got this wrong, but I think it's like, hey, do we need to consider guardianship rather than this? I think that's what Ken is asking.
Yes, you're right, Melissa. You know me well.
So guardianship is available. So we always try to encourage less restrictive interventions to be tried first. If supported decision making and maybe limited guardianship aren't in the cards or aren't up for play, then guardianship is still there and it's still available for those who need it. By being put in a guardianship, a supported decision making agreement will automatically be revoked.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Melanie and Cy before we move on? Because I do realize we're late. Yes, JJ, go right ahead.
So this is JJ. First, I'll wear my DRAZ hat and say thank you. I mean, obviously, this is a long time coming to get the law passed, and obviously, Cy and Melanie are doing great work. And just to echo the last point that Cy was making for the parents in the room, which I'm one, and I'll put my parent hat on next, is there are a lot of options. If supported decision making doesn't work for your child, so I know we're working on the next version of the legal options manual, so that is a resource that I hope that all parents consider, because it's not supported decision making or guardianship. Now I'll put on my parent hat and say, first of all, thank you as a parent for all you're doing. My child turns 18 in February, so I'm going through all this in real time. I'm getting notices from DD for re-eligible, at age of 18, and that form still says just guardianship. Basically, are you filling this out, and what's your submit your guardianship paperwork. So simple things like that, you know, I would say need to be changed. And so working with EDD, besides training them, is also saying, take that out, or say, what form of, you know, kind of representation does this person have? And then my child has a lot of medical procedures. So I also think the training that y'all are doing for doctor's offices, like where my dad and my lawyer had at the same time, I think there's going to be some future cases. I don't know, Si, your feeling on this, but I do think, personally, I've heard of school districts who've not upheld this or didn't think the supported decision making had any authority, which it does. So I think there might have to be some corrective action taken against those who don't honor it. And then doctor's offices, obviously, as well, because we as parents, you know, if there's a supported decision making plan in place, need to be there and work with our child to make sure they understand their decisions. So again, my lawyer hat, dad hat, says there's probably that next step, right? We're doing a lot of educating, and as parents are using this, I know personally, you know, my wife is the kind of the leader in this, and her circle of friends are saying that school districts are saying, what is this? We're not going to honor this. And so I think that training, just again, thinking next steps are probably some advocacy or some concrete work to enforce it. You know, that's where the next challenge is going to be. And whether that be here or not, just know DRAZ is available. We've added it to our priorities for this fiscal year 25 outside of this. So if you do have families who supported decision-making plan was not honored, then send them our way for us to look at it as leaders. So
Thank you. Yes, Jennifer. I was just gonna kind of back on my previous sharing, JJ. You know, we use support decision making with our son, and he's 29 now, and it has definitely evolved over time. You know, first of all, the awareness has changed. You know, when we were first doing supportive decision making with Tucker, we were doing it. We didn't really have a name for it. We didn't know that's what it was. But we have found that using the instruments of powers of attorney have helped with supportive decision making. It's been an extra tool that we've been able to use specifically regarding healthcare and money. That has really, really helped us anyway. So I think as we move forward, I appreciate Melanie and Si so much of the training that you guys are doing. I was feverishly writing down notes about all of the things that we need to do as an organization to enhance the training that we do, but also I feel like we really need to get you guys in to provide our staff some additional training and support, because the awareness is amping up and parents are asking more questions about it. And I don't know that we feel equipped 100% to support them as, you know, as well as we can. So thank you for that. I'm excited about it. So get ready. I'm going to be calling you. Go ahead, Larry.
This is just gonna continue to be one of those things that will be functional so much for the aging community. Because I think this is the supported decision-making in particular is something that we can probably offer to the aging community that they don't have yet. But the same kinds of things apply there in terms of wait a minute, what are our options, right? Fiduciary responsibility, all those other things are starting to come into play with that group too. So thank you.
yes, I quickly, and John knows this real quick, as we were advocating for this, that aging community was one that had some resistance to supported decision making because they thought there was right for abuse, and there's abuse in any system. But I think it was meant for all people that needed supports without taking away those. And I think the aging community is one that fits perfect. You know, like they don't want to lose the independence, but they need help. And so it fits both of the communities. And I hate to say, but the aging community also is a disability community. But, you know, I know that language doesn't kind of always jive, but it works. I mean, it was intended for multiple people. And so I think it's an amazing result of council advocacy, Disability Rights Arizona, everybody who's been involved. I mean, I don't know if we ever thought we were gonna see that day, but miracles happen even in Arizona.
Thank you, Melanie and Si. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for the presentation today. Thank you so much.
You're
We
welcome.
should go on to-
So we are a fair bit behind schedule, and we have one more presenter, Ryan Berry, from the Arc of Tempe. So we're going to turn it over to him. For those of you who can stick around for another 15 minutes or so, really appreciate it. Hope you all can. Ryan, apologies for running behind schedule, but
no worries.
All yours.
I'm going to try to do my best to get to everything. Maybe not in 10 minutes, but we'll go ahead and see. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with all of you today about Arizona Achieve. It's great to see some familiar faces there, and I'm excited to get to know some of the people on the council that I've not met before. But just to remind you, I know that I gave an introduction at the beginning, but hold on a minute. How do I change slides here? Can everybody still see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So my name is Ryan Berry. A little background about me. I live with a minor type of cerebral palsy called spastic diplegia, and I come from a politics and public policy background. I began disability advocacy work by helping start a self-advocacy group at the ARC of Tempe 3 years ago. And I am now the project director of Arizona Achieve. So I'm honored to share with you the work we've been doing under the Self-Advocacy Coalition grant over the past year and a half. Okay, and so Melanie already gave us an introduction, but I just wanted to say we're thankful to be able to do this work under the banner of the ARC of Arizona. And here are some of the other wonderful people that make Arizona Achieve possible. First, we have Susie Teray, who's our project assistant for the coalition. She plays a vital role in managing our peer mentorship program, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. We're also very fortunate to have Ruth Ann Strom here with us today, who helps oversee the finances for the Arizona Achieve project. So today I'm going to outline the project purpose as listed under the ADDPC grant, and then I'm going to unpack that purpose statement, talk about the framework for our mission and what sort of activities that we conduct within that framework. But the official project purpose is to establish and grow a statewide coalition of self-advocates who work together, learn leadership development, speaking skills, peer-to-peer mentoring, partnership with local self-advocacy groups, and participation with community groups. Now, again, that that purpose statement lists some of the activities that Arizona Achieve conducts, but it does not explicitly define the overarching goal of the project, which is really to create a movement that restores the agency of individuals with disabilities so they can solve problems in their own lives and within their communities. And on screen here is the framework we use to guide our mission. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with these concepts, but I wanted to go over each one quickly, what benefits they bestow, and then later how Arizona Achieve supports members' journey through each advocacy level. So as evident, by the title and purpose of the grant, the heart of Arizona Achieve is self-advocacy, which is when an individual voices their needs, preferences, and rights. And self-advocacy is really that simple. It's about individuals with disabilities owning their choices, because there really is no floor to self-determination. As long as an individual with a disability makes independent decisions, we consider that self-advocacy impactful to restoring agency. And that is not just something that we ask members to practice in the coalition, but self-advocacy is really our team's initial and last consideration before we make a decision about the project. We always ask ourselves, are we designing a program that enables self-advocacy to grow? Next, we have peer advocacy, and that means having the support of other individuals with disabilities on the self-advocacy journey. It is sometimes difficult for a person with a disability to take chances and actually be independent without seeing the proof that it's possible. And in our programs, we witness how peer interaction is often the first time when a coalition member understands that they are not alone and that the challenges they face are real and that their feelings are valid. Because when validation comes from another person with a disability who you identify with, that authenticity and relatability cannot be replicated. So we believe peer advocacy gives coalition members the permission to reimagine their potential and take steps forward that they might not have otherwise taken. Next, we have group advocacy, which is the process of coming together as a collective to take action. Now, this stands apart from peer advocacy, where the support is mainly about being seen and recognized as an individual. Group advocacy gives another important layer of support that offers coalition members familiarity and belonging to a community, which also can paradoxically give individuals greater insight into themselves and their self-advocacy. It also helps bridge the gaps within the disability community. There's a lot of fragmentation, in the disability world, often where many people with disabilities are divided by either diagnosis or the onset of an impairment. But in Arizona Achieves programs, we try to demonstrate through group advocacy that what connects us as a disability community is that desire to be heard. And that translates across any diagnosis, political or cultural difference. And that is really important to the final stage of our framework, which is systems advocacy. And that means affecting government policies, rules, and laws. And it is important to mention that systems advocacy is not necessarily the end goal for everyone. People can solve many problems in their life without going to a state legislature. However, systems advocacy is often the natural evolution of group advocacy. And at Arizona Achieve, we make sure to channel that momentum that we build through each advocacy stage toward legislative and policy change, because that is a source of empowerment. Systems advocacy reinforces the idea that people with disabilities are agents of change and not just observers. So we do not try to dictate the direction of the coalition's advocacy as a project team. Instead, we point out potential obstacles and opportunities for the group to move forward, spread disability awareness, and achieve long-term solutions to disability issues. So those are the guiding principles and really the framework for the project. And when we secured the grant in July 2023, we carried forward some of the progress of the previous coalition. But in many ways, this was kind of like a startup business. We really wanted to re-envision and rebuild the statewide self-advocacy movement. So after the first quarter, at the end of September 2023, we had 20 coalition members from 4 counties, primarily centered in the Maricopa County area. But before we could really focus on expanding our outreach, we felt that it was really important to create a coalition that was not just functional, but was recognizable and could stand on its own. So early on, I invested a lot of time and effort into building the Arizona Achieve brand, because the goal was to make the coalition a distinct space where coalition members could feel at home. So one of the first things we did was host Arizona Achieve on its own separate website, and members can easily access everything in one place here, whether it's staying updated on our events or browsing resources by disability topic. But the overall goal of having a dedicated platform was to instill members with a sense of ownership and to feel that, this is not the Arc of Tempe or the Arc of Arizona's website, but this is the coalition's website. As a member, it feels like this is my coalition. Another thing we do is coalition meetings, which are held on the first Friday of every month at 2 p.m. And that is often the introduction to Arizona Achieve for a new coalition member. And meetings are a great way to become familiar with what we're all about. And they mainly fill that role of group advocacy, creating community. But you get to experience a little bit of everything. For example, we hosted the City of Tempe's ADA coordinator for our coalition meeting in October this year. And during that hour and a half, we had ample time to give an overview of what the City of Tempe was working on, prompt a productive discussion about what societal inclusion meant to the coalition members. And we even had room at the end of the meeting where members could share self-advocacy achievements from their own lives. So we considered that meeting a success because it was a perfect blend of all the principles from our framework. It was affecting policy change, uniting around common issues, allowing members to form peer connections, and even practicing self-advocacy skills in a safe environment. So the coalition meetings are really the jumping off point for everything we do at Arizona Achieve. And as project director, one of my main responsibilities is also conducting workshops around Arizona. And the workshops serve as a way for us to meet people where they are in the community and introduce the concept of self-advocacy. But we also use workshops to talk about other advocacy topics, whether that is contacting your representatives or joining a community board. For instance, we had a city councilman and a state senator join us for a workshop in Nogales back in July, and that gave people an opportunity to not only learn self-advocacy as a concept, but really practice it directly with their lawmakers. We've also used the workshops to respond to immediate community needs when there was a discussion about public safety power shutoffs and how those would impact the disability community. We held a workshop on disaster preparedness with the American Red Cross in Prescott Valley. And we've also used the feedback from every one of these workshops to help inform our self-advocacy curriculum. And we can talk a little bit more about that later. Then we have the peer mentorship program, which is supervised by Susie Teray, where we pair members in groups of 3 over Zoom to work on action steps and accomplish personal goals. Each cohort is part of the program for about 3 months, where they talk about issues with a peer, work on a goal sheet, and then graduate from the program. And so obviously this fills that role of peer advocacy, but it also serves the purpose of making sure members' needs are addressed in a more personalized way. The coalition meetings are great, but when you're trying to form a community or a movement, there's always the potential of people getting lost in the crowd or really unsure where to start with self-advocacy. And that's where the peer mentorship program really steps in, where we remind members that their smaller problems are just as relevant as the bigger issues. And then we have the systems advocacy piece. So on screen here is some of the more, probably more glamorous, visible moments from our work at the state legislature and on Capitol Hill. But the coalition is constantly pushing for systems change behind the scenes. Right now, we have a member, an Afghan refugee, who is writing to state legislators about public transit. We have a member creating a presentation on the Autism Cares Act to send to Congress. And we even have a member writing a letter to their local Starbucks about bathroom accessibility. And really my role as a project director and as an advisor is not to push any political message, but to educate and provide a platform for members to solve broader issues through civic participation. So I don't know if we're going to have enough time for this, probably not, but there's a video that we worked on last year that we released over the summer that was about the issue of public transit on the Navajo Nation. We went up there, partnered with the self-advocacy group, the Northern Arizona Tribal Disability Coalition, and it's sort of a short documentary. It's about 10 minutes long. I would encourage everybody to go to the Arizona Achieve YouTube channel and watch it. But that will kind of give an example of the kind of systems advocacy work that we do. So what we have done, so through our framework and through these programs, we've accomplished a lot of things. We've designed a website that has been visited by over 6,000 people. We've held 15 coalition meetings over the past year. We formed a peer mentorship program, and by January, we will have graduated 14 participants from that program. We've published multiple videos to our YouTube channel from short documentaries, like I just showed you, or tutorials on how to track state bills. We've conducted 8 in-person workshops. We've met with both state and national lawmakers to talk about disability issues. We recently partnered with Disability Rights Arizona, the Native American Disability Law Center, and the U.S. Attorney's Office to collect voting testimonials ahead of the recent election. And we've also finished a 248-page self-advocacy curriculum, which covers the basics of self-advocacy, teaches disability rights, and ultimately prepares people with disabilities to become community leaders. And so from where we were at the start, which was 20 coalition members across 4 counties, we're now at 47 coalition members. So 47 Arizonans with disabilities across 9 counties. And we have hundreds of disability professionals and family members on our dedicated mailing list. And as we've progressed into the second year, our membership is increasing, especially recently, but there is still a lot of work to be done. So our short-term goals are adapting the written curriculum into videos that we plan to put on our website. Hopefully, we can also start some stakeholder discussions and get state legislation introduced on public transit. Another goal is becoming a cross-community coalition, so working with other organizations outside the disability community to solve disability issues. We'd also like to improve our minority representation. We've grown a lot in membership, but our coalition still does not accurately reflect the diversity of Arizona. And then lastly, a goal we have is streamlining legislative and policy change through a public affairs software. So that means making it easier for members to track bills and contact lawmakers. And I know, Melanie, if you might speak on this a bit more on plans related to quorum.
Yeah, so the ARC of Arizona is investing in the web-based platform Quorum, which is going to allow us to better track legislative bills as they're introduced and they make their way through the various channels. It's also going to allow us to be able to communicate more effectively with self-advocates and their families and other individuals so that they can communicate with their representatives on hot topic issues that need to be addressed immediately. And so we're really looking forward to that. It also has the capacity and capability to track any social media posts that our representatives are making when they're commenting about certain bills. So it's very interactive, and it's going to create those templates that are desperately needed, because a lot of times people don't comment on things or don't contact their representatives because they just don't know what really they're supposed to say, or what are the key issues related to it. So we'll be able to provide some of those templates to make it easier and more accessible for individuals to engage with their representatives going forward. So we're really excited about that. We are going to be participating in a webinar next month, and I have invited John to sit in on that as we learn the platform, so that way we can make sure that we're including all of our coalition partners in accessing that vital resource.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie.
You're welcome.
So some of the challenges that we have noticed managing the coalition is first finding a way to balance multiple issues simultaneously. And even though coalition members are working on projects in their own time and in the peer mentorship program, I think a challenge is having continuity across all these different disability issues. And I think that will just kind of come with growing the coalition and building capacity. Next is engagement of rural communities. So after a workshop, once we leave a community, oftentimes we lose connection with the specific disability issues that city or town faces. So right now we're starting building more self-advocacy groups in the communities that we visit so that we can still keep in touch with that network. Minority underrepresentation, like I said, that's something that we want to improve on. And I think addressing this issue is going to involve reaching out to minority communities in a more intentional and sustained way. 4 is navigating interorganizational dynamics. So what I mean by this is trying to convince organizations that our intent is to complement rather than compete with their efforts. And sometimes this can create a natural tension, but we try to demonstrate that partnering with Arizona Achieve is a benefit, and self-advocacy is not a threat to their operations. And that just really comes with building trust. Maintaining membership participation. We have a lot of members who are very engaged and stay continually involved, but sometimes members participate for short periods of time. So here we've tried to convey that it is beneficial for members to stay regularly involved and continue practicing self-advocacy skills. And we've recently created a participation leaderboard called the Leadership Circle, where we publicly recognize coalition members for their engagement. Also operating without a community presence. So without more face-to-face interactions with coalition members, it can be a little bit difficult to create that sense of familiarity and community. So we plan to do more work on that. Maybe host more events in person that maybe are just for the purposes of socialization. And then some of the key takeaways that I've had from working on this project over the past year and a half is one, remembering to prioritize individual members' needs and goals. You know, when you're talking about a lot of broader disability issues with housing and transportation, sometimes, you know, those individual needs can kind of slip through the cracks. But, you know, luckily, I think the peer mentorship program has done a lot to capture that. Focus on cross-disability coalition building, bridging the urban-rural divide. And I think that involves, you know, aligning local disability problems with broader issues. 4 is upholding coalition nonpartisanship, so not sending any partisan message that alienates Arizonans with disabilities, being willing to work and educate both Democrat and Republican lawmakers. And again, I want to make clear that does not mean being neutral. As John mentioned at the beginning of the meeting today, you know, if there are significant changes being made in government that are affecting the disability community, it is important that the coalition reaches out to address that reality and to educate lawmakers. 4 is demystify the policymaking process. And this is one of my biggest takeaways as project director, which is that it's important to educate on civics and government in a way that's easy to understand, to be able to give members the tools to channel their advocacy, group advocacy, peer advocacy into something productive. And I would also say that it is necessary to have someone who has some sort of background in public policy, information about public policy to advise the coalition. And then lastly, ensuring the coalition materials as well as spoken communication are in plain language. So I tried to get through that as quickly as possible. I know that we were short on time, but before I open it to questions, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the ADDPC staff, the council, Ruth Ann, Melanie, and just everyone who's allowed me to work on this project. I will be moving on to other things next fall. I'll be going to law school, but I just really wanted to just take a moment to express my gratitude to all the people who've made Arizona Achieve possible and allowed me to be of service to the disability community. So I'm very appreciative of all of you, and I'm willing to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ryan at the moment? That was pretty thorough, despite last time, Ryan. That was really informative. Thank you so much.
I was trying to breeze through it, but we made it. We made it through.
Just a quick comment. So Ryan, good luck in law school. I heard you're going to some small Ivy League school. So
Yeah.
you're probably looking at better opportunities, but hopefully you come back out to Arizona. And I don't know if I'm in this position or not, but I'd just like to say, don't forget about us here. And if you're looking at disability rights, you know, Arizona's got an office along with every other state and territory. So we hope you stay in the field because you are a great advocate. So appreciate your work.
Amen.
Yeah. So it is goodbye for a short period of time, but not forever. I will be, keeping some connections here. I'll try to find my way maybe onto a board or a public policy committee to kind of use what I'm learning in law school and apply it to kind of the work back home. And I do plan to come back. So I will see. It's only farewell for a short period of time.
Well, Ryan, and if I may say something, Ryan knows that he's not ever going to go too far away from me. We will be connected for a very long time in this work. So.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time today. Thank you. That was terrific. And I'll be sure I'm going to check out that video on YouTube. I'm going to find it. It's great. Right? Definitely. Roads less accessible. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up our last, get us out of here hopefully in 2 minutes or less. We're going to move on to agenda item H. Does anybody have any announcements that they need to share? Nothing from you, JJ?
I can make one up.
You actually had great info for us, so, okay. No, I'm in that wholeheartedly. It was a good thing. Okay, no announcements. Okay, all right. Agenda item I, our call to the public. I think we had some public members on here. If you had anything to say, now is the time. Okay. Moving on to agenda item J, time to adjourn. Thank you all so much for hanging in there, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Be safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.